Okay, Coop, another episode of Backstage. Post-Grand Final, firstly, hell of a season. Another great season. Well done to the players, the clubs, and the NRL. Loved it.
It was an entertaining year. Some of the games we saw this year, the quality of rugby league, it just keeps getting better and better every year.
It really does.
Undoubtedly. Ever since Volandis has taken over, he's got a great knack for understanding what the game needs, doesn't he? Like, 6 again rule came in and that really changed the game. It made it faster. He just keeps innovating the game and making it a good spectacle.
And people on the independent commission too. There's a lot of people like Wayne Pearce that come up with the bell sound for the 6 again. All those things. When I first heard the 6 again and how it was going to operate with the bell sound, I thought, oh God, this could be a disaster, and it could have been.
Yeah,
but it's just worked a treat, sped up the rucks, it's made the game fantastic. And the game, continues to grow. The really important, important thing for the independent commission and Peter is they just have to be careful of how much information they take off the coaches and the clubs.
Yeah.
I've seen the game flying before. Remember 2005? 2005 was an incredible year, the one that the Tigers won. Yeah, it was a real bias on attack football, hence why it was the North Queensland Cowboys West Tigers Grand Final. In the off-season, the coaches went in and asked for more rights for the defensive side. And sure enough, the game slowed down a little bit. Just got to keep the course. The players are getting fitter. Right, they can handle the speed of the plate. Excuse me. So I've just climbed out from under a rock after Grand Final night. But as of you look like you've crawled out of back of a brewery truck.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've just got to stay the course. The lead up to the game, just talk the Grand Final, Coop, and all the things that have come out of it. The lead up to the game, did you spend much time with the Melbourne boys? Did you go into camp and see how they're travelling?
Sprinkle that magic dust. Yeah, I did. I did. I caught up. I think on the 2 days before the game, the Storm boys always had a day off, so I went over and caught up, played some cards with a few of the boys. They were good. They were really relaxed. I must say, actually, this year in general, that Storm squad, years gone past, they've probably been a little bit tense and a bit serious. Like, not serious. It's always good to take your football very serious, but this year, I think it's probably coincided with a little bit less pressure. They've been flying. Harry, as a captain, he's he likes to keep the morale really high. So we're not always sending funny videos into the WhatsApp group. Like they're a very connected group. I sent a text to Frank Panisi after the prelim last week, and I just said, congratulations on how good the group's going this year. I've never seen, it hasn't been this tight, that squad, in a long time, probably since 2020 when they won the comp last time. And he said, mate, I appreciate the text. We've noticed it too. We've let sort of the playing group take a bit more ownership of how they want to prepare and sort of how they want to be as a group. And they've had an outstanding year. They were very relaxed, but obviously didn't take the chocolates on Sunday.
They're up against a pretty good team.
Mate, they were unbelievable.
Just quickly on, you said about Harry. You said about being relaxed, and you FaceTimed him. And I just jumped on quickly to say good day. He was actually sitting on the toilet when you were FaceTiming him.
On game day,
Game day. But I sent him a text after the game and I said, Harry, congratulations on your season and congratulations personally on your game. Sometimes when you don't win, you actually still win by the manner in which you held yourself and the way you played. And he said, oh, yeah, thanks very much. He said, we've got a really special group here, a really tight bunch of blokes. We're going to be good.
Yeah.
So that's
what I mean. You forget, because they have so many big game players like Harry, Munster, Hughesy. There's Munster, Hughesy, I believe it's Munster, Hughesy, Paps, and Welchie may have been the only ones who were in that grand final in 2020. The others had no grand final experience. So even Harry, Harry's done so much in 100 games. You think it's amazing to think he hasn't actually been in a grand final.
I couldn't believe when someone said he hadn't played in the grand final. I was like, come on, he's played.
He's played everything else, but I thought he was unbelievable. He's built for someone like Harry was built for the big stage. He played outstanding, and he got a couple of young blokes, a few young blokes that are about to move into their peak years. Trent Liero had a really good season, and Jack Howarth, the egg hatched. He had a terrific final series. Looked great at the back end of the season. Cooper, is he a back row or a centre? I think eventually he'll be a back rower because he's so big. Like he will, as you get old, it's like your metabolism slows down. It's harder to stay kind of lean.
Oh, don't worry. I know it.
And I'm starting to figure that out too. But I think for the first at least, I reckon he'll be like Sonny Bill Williams. That's kind of the trajectory I see him on in terms of Sonny Bill started in the centres and then after a few years he moved, as he got knew the game better and stuff, more experience, got a bit better football IQ, moved into the back row. I can see that same sort of thing with Jack Howarth. Also, mate, he's on a similar to Sonny Bill. I could definitely see in 3 or 4 years' time rugby union sniffing around him, trying to steal him as well. He did play at a big union school up in Brisbane, BBC, Brisbane Boys College, the big union school up there. So
they'd be doing well to pinch him.
Oh, mate, they'd be doing...
Melbourne Storm, I mean, they got him out of New Zealand. Melbourne Storm got Nelson out of New Zealand Rugby Union.
Yeah.
He was their best young guy coming through. They got him, and the belief was that he had a few years at the Storm and went back. But Storm, if they want to keep a player, they very, very rarely lose him.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be silly sometimes to leave such a good club like that.
Cooper, just before we talk about the game, pre-game entertainment, Kid Laroi, I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah, I liked it too. I was at the game. It was a little hard to hear him actually at the game in terms of it was very loud. There's a lot of cheering. There's a lot of fireworks. So in terms of how it sounded, you couldn't actually hear him in parts. I knew a lot of his songs anyway because I've seen him live before, so I enjoyed it. Couldn't believe that a lot of people were calling it NRL's Meatloaf though.
It was more to do with the smoke, but still, it was a very little thing. I mean, at the ground, I imagine might have been the smoke, might have made it a little bit different, but or difficult to see him. But I thought he was fantastic. I was watching it go, mate, I thought just the lights and everything around it. I thought the stage, I thought it was really, really good. I thought he varied his songs brilliantly, crossing generations, finishing with Never Tear Us Apart. I think it was genius.
Yeah.
But I thought, all in all, I thought it was, like, I thought it was better than Katy Perry. Listen to me. I did. I thought it was better, and I thought the fact that he is a rugby league fan, he's a Waterloo boy, I thought it was just perfect.
Yeah, it was a nice touch, and it's something. It's the Aussie rock thing has been done so many times. I love Aussie rock, and I'm a big Aussie rock fan. Aussie rock is synonymous in rugby league, but I think it was a nice touch to go something different this year and go the Kid Laroi, because typically that kind of pop avenue isn't, they don't really go that. A lot of the time they go for kind of the old Aussie rock for our rugby league audience, but I like, getting someone like the Kid Laroi is it's a huge get.
Bringing in that next generation, bringing in that next sort of left of centre audience. People would have got there and, a fringe watcher of the game. Some people are not even into the game, but here Kid Laroi's going to be playing. I'll have a look, and who knows, I might hang around and watch some of the game. It's a good way of hooking people in.
Yeah.
Standard of the contest, what did you think?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I think it was. We spoke about it our first finals preview. We said, I believe you actually brought it up. We said when a game is when you can watch a game and it's actually quite boring in a sense where they're not doing a lot with the football. That first half an hour, if you really look at that game, like it was very just simple, 4 hit-ups, kick, and it was the ball in play time that first half an hour. There was so much fatigue out there because there was no stoppages. They weren't kicking it out. There wasn't a lot of errors, or if there was, it was just a quick play the ball, they get on with it. You could just tell there was so much fatigue out there. The boys were playing so simple. 2
very disciplined sides. I loved it. 2 very, very disciplined sides. 2 very good defensive outfits. It was just going to be a matter of who blinked first. It was interesting. Let's talk about that style of football for just 1 second, Coop. You just sparked a memory in me. I'm trying to think what year it was. I don't know if it was 1986 or 1987. I remember being a kid and watching the game. There was a game, Canterbury Bulldogs up against Cronulla Sharks, right? And then when I went to the Newcastle Knights, when we were young players, they showed us that game. They said, this is how you dismantle an opposition. And the game was a real arm wrestle, right? Backwards and forwards, the Bulldogs kick long. And Cronulla were really holding their own. They had a very good side around that 1987-1988 team. They're holding their own. They're kicking long. The old side of their own. They kick long, and it just go backwards and forward. And it was literally, Cooper, who blinks first. And suddenly, with 20 minutes to go, one of the Sharks players tried a little chip over the top. Bang, they broke first. And the other night, like those 2 sides for 80 minutes, neither blinked. They were just going backwards and forwards. And it just took little moments of brilliance to separate the two sides. I thought for a purist that loves an arm wrestle, loves a tight game, I thought it was terrific. I will bring up... Sorry, Coop.
Can I bring up a stat for you right now? I just had to confirm it on Google. So 2014 was the last year. 2014, the first try scorer was Alex Johnston in the Rabbitohs. They went on to beat the Bulldogs. Since 2014, so it's been, 10 years, the first try scorer in an NRL Grand Final has always gone on to win. So when Harry Grant scored the first try in this year, I actually said to everyone around me, I said Melbourne are going to win. Like, of the last decade, no team has ever not scored first and lost. See, the only other time was 2013. George Tafua scored, and the Roosters ended up beating the Seagulls. But you can just tell, like, if you start the game, like, obviously how physical that first half an hour was, but if you start well in grand finals, like, it gives you such an advantage. Credit to Penrith to be able to turn that stat around.
Well, Cooper, just shows you how good Penrith are. The fact that they didn't panic and they just held their nerve and they just continued on their path and held Melbourne to nil after that try shows you, I mean, 4 competitions in a row. And this grand final will be remembered as Penrith going 4 in a row. The grand finals that really last the test of time are the close finishes.
Yeah.
The grandstand finishes, they're the ones that people look back in time and go, wow, what a grand final. This was a great game. But when people talk about the greatest grand finals, they won't talk about this one because it was more of a grind.
Yeah.
We talk about 89, you're talking about 2015, and talk about last year, 2023. They're the ones that stick in the memory. Not because they're a tougher contest or anything, had a more exciting finish.
Yeah. Grandstand finish.
Day or night grand final, Coop? You've only ever seen night grand finals, haven't you?
I believe, was it Seagulls and Warriors? Was that one of the last ones that they played in afternoon?
Twilight game.
Twilight. See, I like the Twilight too. I think 7:30 is just too late. See, I would love an afternoon or a Twilight. I can't see. I don't like it that late. I think that afternoon's it just gives a different spectacle. It's a little bit drier. There's a little bit more footy being played, but I just think people like an early start, early finish.
The high-skilled, fast players come to the fore when it's a day game of football. Granted, fingers crossed, it's not going to be wet, it's not going to be pouring rain, but afternoon grand finals produce much faster, open games of football. Whereas, when you get a night grand final, there's been some ripper night grand finals, but when you get two sides that are just really, really tough, great in the grind, then it's going to be, as we saw the other night, it's going to be a tough arm wrestle, which I like.
Yeah.
Right? But bringing in, again, not the zealot rugby league person, you love the fast games. Those really up-tempo, plenty of points scored, tough games, but that's why I like the day grand final. I like day grand finals first, second, and third. Twilight was neither here nor there. As Twilight is.
Twilight, the movie, shocking as well. I just wanted to ask, obviously night is for the TV ratings. Is that correct? How much different is the afternoon TV ratings to night? Like, because in my head, I think I would rather watch it in an afternoon on TV as opposed to night.
Coop, it won't be at the moment till they go back till they test an afternoon grand final. Night might be more ratings. But I'm telling you now, I reckon there's more eyeballs on the game than there is with the night grand final because younger people, kids will sit and watch the game. Because what it is, when I say, whilst the ratings might not be as high, there's as many eyeballs because people are watching
at the pub,
at barbecues, at pubs, at things like that. They're having celebrations through the day. And that's what it was. It was a real grand final day. Was a real event. The football would start about 10:30 in the morning with the under-21s and they go through the day. It was awesome.
Okay. That makes sense. I suppose more people are at home because it's getting late. People might have school or something.
Now people will counter me and they'll say, yeah, but a day grand final, let's go to 1986, Parramatta won 4-2. But 5 metre rule, slow rucks.
Yeah.
And it was in the defensive era of the game.
Yeah.
Mate, fast rucks, 10 metre rule, this type of attacking players we've got now, it'll be, that'll rattle up plenty of points. Big moments in the game, Coop?
Yeah, probably the first thing that comes to mind, which is the most controversial thing right now, the Jack Howarth no try.
What did Jack and the players say after the game?
No, they were pretty good after the game. They said it was a no try. On initial look, the problem was what they put on the big screen at the game. They put an angle on there that looked like it was a try. They had another angle, which obviously they can see in the bunker. They've got so many cameras, they can see it. They didn't put that one on the big screen for everyone to see, where you could see the arm underneath the ball, which obviously made everyone quite filthy, which is annoying at the time because you feel as a fan of the Storm, a lot of the Storm fans felt robbed until they did release the footage on social media afterwards for everyone to see, but because even some of the Storm people went up to the ref after the game and asked him, Graham Annesley, the boss, showed them the angle, and they said, okay, that's fine. The big screen, it really did at the game. It looked bad.
We were sitting over at the Skogs, our neighbours, and we were watching the game, and we all went, oh my God, it's a try, because they put the camera on Jack Howarth as it come up on the big screen, and he punched the air. We thought, wow, he scored it.
Well, even the commentators said the same thing. Joey said, wow, it's a try. And as soon as it came up no try, he went, even when the commentators, a lot of people get their gauge off what the commentators' reaction to.
That's scary.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, when Joey's watching. So it did spark a lot of controversy. Obviously, it wasn't a try. Penrith, just quietly though, to be able to stop that try how they did. Jack Howarth's a big dude. There was a split second where he caught it to the fact when he got low to try to score. Efforts like that, they went a huge way in how they won that game.
5 blokes in the tackle.
That's
what grand final was about, desperation. The other one was the Liam Martin try, Coop. I want to ask you about something there. I think it went Jarome. Jarome switched it back to Nathan. Nathan was one-on-one with Sean Bloor.
Yeah.
I thought they'd go at Sean a little bit because it was his first grand final, first Origin series. And he sort of skipped a little bit like he was going to beat him on the inside. Then little goosey, and then took off to Munster. And Munster just gravitated in once he knew Bloor didn't have him completely covered. Do you think that was a set sequence designed for Bloor?
Initially, I did. Initially, watching it live, I did. But I saw a camera angle just last night, actually, where they had the camera just on Nathan when he was calling. He was actually calling. You can see on that footage, he was calling hot, hot, which is their call for give me that's their dominant call. He wants the footy. He was on the advantage. I wanted it off Mitch. Mitch went the other way to Jarome, and you can see him a little bit disappointed. And then he sees Romy look back at him and fire it back, and he gets back in position. It just happened naturally. But that's their combination. Like for Jarome in a big game, crowd was so loud, it would be hard to hear. Mitch would have been hard actually hearing Nathan how loud the crowd was. For Jarome to know Nathan wants this, he sees something, catch it and just fire it straight back at him. That's a combination and a connection they've been playing since SG Ball, right? Those guys together. That's a combination that only comes over that much time playing together. Like you can't coach that.
Just made me think that when you said the call hot, calling the ball, when I played under 21s, the first grade coaches, Alan McMahon at the Knights and Alan Bell, in the 21s, they used to send me out the field and say, listen to their calls for us.
Yeah.
And they go in at halftime and say, tell them. So I still remember a lot of the calls. Like Manly, they had Freshie, which was the second man. Jack and Jill was under and short. So I still remember some of those. Arco was their boss call, get it out wide.
Yeah.
Penrith, I'm sorry, it wasn't Penrith. North Sydney, their dummy call was pressure. So it'd be pressure and then the other way. And when they went pressure down was when you started thinking they were picking their decoys, and it was a double decoy. When you went pressure down, they give it to the bloke.
Yeah.
So they used to say, righto. They just get a pen and paper and walk in and say, righto, what are the calls? A couple of times I went in there and said, I don't know, I can't quick them up. He said, well, fucking go back out there and find out what they are.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like every team has their hot call. Every team. A lot of teams actually use hot. You hear that a lot. A lot of teams actually have the same dominant call.
You think they'd come up with something new.
You think they would. Hot's a very old school one. Like that's been around for ages, hot. A lot of teams have used that. Obviously, you said Manly had Arco, which is, they've had that for a while. But every team's got one. You can kind of pick it when you're out on the field. You can hear because you know when a bloke wants it because he's screaming for it.
Just about every rugby league side, from Walgett to Wagga to the West Tigers, well, they weren't West Tigers, Balmain Tigers, right through, had a call for when the referee back in the old days used to referee from the ruck. The call used to be red dog, which meant cheat. Or go back, and where it was get back your 5, take one more step forward altogether.
Oh, really?
So that as soon as everyone heard red dog, everyone said, mate, they're offside. Everyone used the same call, no matter where they played.
The other key moment I want to ask you about, because you spoke about during the week, you had a lot to say about that doubles play and the Nathan sequence where in the prelim you put Paul Alamoli over, and then you spoke about Ivan wanting to attack that side. That's why he was quite vocal about the obstruction in the prelim.
That was it, yep. Little block formation they used, and Talakai committed to the straight runner, and they got it wrong, and they endlessly admitted after the game they got it wrong. And, after the game, Ivan was very, very animated, I'm having anxiety about that. That was a complete giveaway that they were going to attack that side with Nick and Will Warbrick with a little attack sequence.
They had that beautiful play for Taruva to score, a play that they'd been doing quite a bit. They put a lovely variation, which they haven't done at all this final series. They've had it obviously in the kit bag, ready to use, and they decided to bring it out on the biggest stage for Taruva to score on the weekend where they hit Alamotti. Meany comes in thinking it's the play they've been running all final series, and he does a beautiful little wraparound play, hits Edwards, who finds Taruva. That was special. Like that was those kind of big, nice variation, well-run plays. They win big games.
That ball to Alamotti that just gives him enough time. Jarome and Nathan, what appears really simple isn't. It's giving Alamotti the ball at the exact right time. I call it the Goldilocks effect. Not too early, not too late, just right. So they go one step, commit, and just give Alamotti just a quarter of a second extra time to get catch and pass out the back. That's an underestimated thing. I tell you who, talking to Joey, he had a yarn to Bradman Best once, and he said to Bradman, do you bump Gagai much, Dane? Because he's been around a lot. He said, oh, yeah, occasionally. Dane, he said, go and have a talk to him how he likes the ball off his playmakers. You'll learn a lot. Gagai, when he returned to the Knights after he was at the Knights when South and returned, he grabbed the playmakers and he said, right, he said, I want to tell you how I like the ball a little bit. When it's 3-on-3 up a short side, I want you to take 1.5 steps and then feed it to me quick. And they're like, right. And he said, because what'll happen is my centre and possibly even their winger will come outside in. If you give it to me too late, he's going to bang me outside in, going to clean me up. If you give it to me too early, he's going to hang back and hold his winger and it's just going to push us over the sideline. He said 1.5 steps, feed me, and we'll catch him in no man's land. Just tiny little subtleties, Coop. It ain't the bricks, it's the mortar.
Nah, yeah, but like centers and wingers do so many reps of training. They know exactly when a half takes it a step too far, and they'll go and jam and land on him and put him under pressure, kind of force an error. And they know when they pass a little bit too early, and then they'll give time for their centre. So there is that beautiful subtlety which Penrith do so well. They just manage to always nail exactly the timing of their passes. Matthew, the neighbours are amazed actually at the moment. Apparently our little lawn out the back there is the talk of the street.
Cooper, I am not surprised.
It's given, you know what the best thing about it is too? It's given me so much more time, like free time. Like I just go to the gym and stuff.
What? You go to the gym? What do you, I mean, seriously? Like that little pot belly? It's like it's like you got a money belt under there. I mean, really, gym?
When I say gym, I more mean like I go running. Like I've been running along the beach and stuff lately.
Honestly, it's like you're Rodney Dangerfield. Come on.
No, okay. When I say running, I mean like clubbing, like night clubbing when I go mate, but that's what happens when you got the Automower robotic lawnmower out the back. It's got on schedule. It cuts it all on time for me. It allows me to just get a heap of free time. And all I got to do is on the Connect app, it just does, I set everything and it just does it all for me. So that's perfect. And then I can actually go, if I wanted to, do gym, running, or night clubbing.
Yeah. Maybe all three.
Yeah, no more sweating with an old push mower in the heat. Job done.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
For the game?
Yeah.
I mean, I found it really hard to split my 3 and 2. I had Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo. Liam Martin just edged him out, I think, just some of his efforts on kick chase. Geez, he just charges through, leaves the rest of him and makes sure he always lands on him. And he was really aggressive all night on Munster. Isaiah Yeo, I thought was unbelievable. I thought he was the difference in the middle to give them a huge edge because Storm did an excellent job on their back five, particularly Toto. They did a really good job.
Hitting him low a lot.
Harry was coming out of marker and getting into his legs, taking his leg drive and stuff out of it.
The Tamalolo rule. They used to defend him the same way.
Yeah, just getting to his legs, even if it's on first contact. But Isaiah Yeo through the middle, how smart he was. I thought he was unbelievable. I thought either of them could have won Clive Churchill. My one was Harry Grant. I thought he's in a losing side. I nearly thought he's a chance at Clive Churchill in a losing side. I thought his effort, he had something like 60 tackles, 59 tackles. He scored one, nearly scored another one. He was on fire. He just was in everything, and with a bad calf too, which he'd hurt the week before.
Yeah.
He ended up. I think he ran the third most Ks in the game as well, which is unbelievable for a hooker. It's usually always halfbacks and fullbacks who clock up the most Ks.
That's
Nathan
incredible.
had number one. I think Dylan Edwards was number two, and Harry Grant ran about 9.3 Ks.
We've got the same combination. I've gone Isaiah Yeo 3.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Split decision between he and Liam. I'm going to go for Isaiah Yeo because I actually thought he was the player of the final series. I thought he got the mix of his game just perfect. Times through the year we got a little bit pass happy and pushed their tackle a little sideways. The final series and leading into the finals, he just got it perfect. He was run first and pass second. Liam Martin, of course, for 2 points. 1 point you could have picked. You could have picked Nathan. There was a mile of place for 1 point. I've done you. I've gone Harry. Given the fact that you told me a little bit on the side going in that there was some concerns about his calf, and I thought, okay, he's going to hold back a little bit here. But made up, 50-odd tackles? 53 tackles?
59 or something, I think.
59.
Something like that, yeah. Unbelievable. Like, he's so fit. He's unbelievably fit.
Before we talk, we're going to go on and talk about something really crucial I want to talk about is Jarome Luai to the Tigers, impact he'll have, and also James Fisher-Harris to the Warriors. We'll get to that. How were the Melbourne Storm boys after the game and back at the hotel?
Obviously shattered. Like, they'd had such a great year. They'd been getting raps all year. They were really hungry to win this game too. They were particularly that first hour when you're in the sheds after the game. It was very melancholy in there. No music was being played. They were all in there, just sort of recapping the game a little bit.
Who's the one who's the bloke? Who was the most? I imagine a lot of the young blokes would have been devastated. Who were the main players that go around and get them up and get them going?
Munster was probably a little bit like that. He took it very hard. He's played in a lot of big games, won some big games, lost some big games. But he probably understands, that they're going to be better off for it in the long term. So he could kind of bounce back a little bit from it, tried to, get the morale up a little bit. Harry was taking it pretty hard. Jarome Hughes, he was in his locker for a little bit. He was just sort of taking it all in.
What a big week for Jarome.
Huge for Hughes.
That's it. That was a huge test for him, Coop. Winning the Dally M medal, given the nature of the Dally M, it's his first Dally M, everyone's saying going in, he's going to win it. Pressure there. But how close it was at the end between he and Teddy, and how emotional it was. Like when the people are up there on stage and Beliak was rapping him, I remember he was sitting there and I thought, man, this is going to be hard to come down from. And then you get up first thing in the morning, you got radio, television interviews at first thing. So, and he was strong. So, but it was a big week. That was a real challenge for Jarome.
Yeah, I'd imagine. And he's someone, Dad, who just does not like the attention on him as well. Like he's in that group, he's quite a big character in terms of, a lot of chirping, a lot of the funny stuff comes from Jarome. He's very funny bloke, but he doesn't show him that side of himself outside that group. So he does like to keep himself quite sheltered. So I imagine that would have been quite challenging for him, quite an emotional week, winning the RLPA Champion Players Player as well, which is it's just a huge award too, because that's obviously all player voted. Like that's all the boys who vote who's been the best player all year. So it was a big challenge for him, and I thought he played well on the weekend. I think his performance come under a little bit of criticism from players, just probably because he just won the Dally M and people were expecting him to go out there and score 3 tries like he has been all year. But
wasn't that game.
Was not that type of game.
No, it wasn't. what about Penrith, right, Coop? 4 in a row, but there's 9 players in that team who have gone 4 in a row. So it's Fisher Harris, Moses Leota, Nathan Cleary, Jarome Luai, Dylan Edwards, Isaiah, Liam Martin, Brian
Yeah.
Missing one.
Is there one more in there?
There's one. Is there one more? 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's not Mitch Kenny.
No, we said it'll come to us. People who don't like to be disrespectful, we're missing one in there somewhere.
That's all right.
Yeah.
They'll let us know.
Right. You have a little look through. Scotty Sorensen.
That's right.
Got back from a hamstring injury.
Yes, Scotty Sorensen. I had Luke Garner anytime try scorer thinking that he was going to start, and then Scotty Sorensen went out there. You son of a bitch, Scott. Good looking man though. Yeah, huge, and it's phenomenal to think. It's funny when we spoke earlier in the year. When we spoke to Nathan or them losing Critter this year, we went, oh, how good he was against the Broncos last year. He's it's going to be such a big loss. We're expecting the Penrith Panthers to slide. How phenomenal they are after losing such a big name like that. Even you look at who they're losing this year. Luai, Fisher Harris, Taruva. You go, after what they've proved the last 4 years, how many people have left? How many people have come and gone?
Lindsay Smith emerging.
Yeah, Lindsay Smith emerging. Even Matt Eisenhuth, somebody who probably 10 years ago, you look at players like Chase Blair and people who used to go to the Melbourne Storm who are on the outer at other clubs, and they go there, they win premierships, and people go, how good are they? Like Bellyache's ability to turn these players, on the fringe players into phenomenal superstars. Like you say the same thing about Ivan now. If you're a young kid, you'd want to go to either Penrith or Storm if you want to turn yourself into, or you're somebody who's on the edge of, you've moved around a lot of clubs. I want to turn into the best NRL player I can. Those are the two clubs now. Like Penrith has turned into one of those clubs.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Cooper, and one of the reasons those top clubs give roles to players, right? When talking to players who you've been to different clubs and sort of been journeyman, and then gone to a Melbourne Storm, one of those top clubs. What they tell you when they go there is that when they walk in, the coach, like Craig Bellamy, says to them, I don't need you to do A, I don't need you to be B, I don't need you to, and I don't want you to be C. This is your job. That's what you do, and you make your tackles on top of that, and you're going to stay. And straight away, a player goes, well, great. At lesser clubs, they feel like they've got to do more. Yeah. They step out of their lane. Like when you go to play with a Nathan Cleary, you've got a role. That's what you got to do, your role. And secondly, you want to please him.
Yeah.
You want to feel accepted, and that's why you elevate your game. That's why those top clubs, they keep finding people and they keep performing, even though they mightn't perform at other clubs.
Like you just said, with Nathan's aura, you can tell there's 2 or 3 players where if they keep those, you keep your Yo. I would say Yo, Edwards, and Nathan, 3 players whose aura is so big right now. If you're a young player, if you can keep those 3 there for the next 5 years, it doesn't matter who kind of comes and goes within that squad. They're all going to lift and elevate to the standard of how Penrith play. Like they could, if they keep those 3 fit, healthy, and in form, they could go on to win another 4 comps. It's scary to say.
Nathan's just moving into his peak years.
Yeah,
granted, he got touched with a little bit, with injuries. It applies to every player, but and I'm reading at the moment. A lot of people have started the comparison. How would this side go against the great Broncos sides? How would this side, and the biggest comparison with the fellow Western Sydney side, the great Parramatta side of 80, 81, 82. Sorry, 81? Sorry, 81, 82, 83. God, how am I going with my math? And my memory. I'm not even going to get involved with it because I don't think it's fair on any of those players. They are all great sides. Yeah. But I tell you what, in my time in rugby league, Coop, I wasn't around to see the great St George sides, of course. But of all the sides I've seen, these blokes are at the very least the equal. They are a phenomenal team with some phenomenal players. I just tip my hat. The way they form combination. And Coop, the other thing about it, how tight they are. You talk about connection. Where after the game, Dylan's boys are wearing the Samoan traditional garb, or I'm not exactly sure
Yeah.
what it's called, but the fact they're all wearing it in respect for their players, it's just tremendous.
It is cool. I remember, I believe it was young Tonomapea, actually, at the Melbourne Storm, who's played for Samoa. He once, when he's talked about connection, he said, and Penrith did the exact same in this sense. He said, what I love about this club is if it's important to one of us, it's important to all of us.
That's awesome.
And Penrith are the exact same in that sense, where it's like if something's important to one of their players, everyone just buys in and they just get on board with it. I see, they do a lot of themes as well. Have you seen Penrith Panthers? Last year, I think they did Top Gun. They all got different call signs and they drew motivation from that to kind of come up with their identity for the final series. This year, they did it on the multiculture. They did it with fish leaving.
Mana?
Yeah, mana, which is like a word for courage. Like they'll say, he's got a lot of mana. And
it's more, this team and these individuals, they're more than footballers. They're more than a football side, Coop. The way they have changed areas, particularly Mount Druitt, out in that western suburbs, is just credit to all of those blokes. They transcend football.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thing you can do with your sport. Cooper, righto, the big challenge now, Jarome Luai to the Tigers. Critter did it the year before. Stephen Crichton left to go to the Bulldogs. He has been phenomenal at the Bulldogs. He has exceeded expectations. He's elevated that side. Jarome, what do you think? I've got no doubt I think he'll elevate them. I haven't got a doubt. It's just a matter of how much.
I think they're definitely going to improve with him to Ruva there.
Without
obviously. Those players who have winning culture, they don't just lose that. But I think what Critter had over him was the Bulldogs, what Cam Serraldo has been doing to that Bulldogs club for the year that development year they had last year, where he's starting to weed out people who don't fit in with his system and whatnot. I think Tigers just don't have that yet. I think it's going to be very hard for Jarome, or they're going to have to fix a few things if they want to be top 8 contenders with the squad that they've got now, because the squad on paper, they have the ability to make top 8. Coruscant, Luai, they have a great side, but this has always been the knock on them. From the board and the top office down to the playing group, there's not a great deal of connection within that club, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, which has a lot of an impact to why their club isn't successful.
But if you look in the history of sport, Cooper, people say one man doesn't make a team. I agree. I totally agree with that. But one man can elevate a team and elevate every person in the team and elevate the sum of the parts to bring things right up. Crichton, as we said before, is a perfect example. Jarome Luai will be unbelievable for Lockie Galvin. With what he'll teach him, he'll teach him the ropes. He'll get a lot of know-how. He'll fast-track Lockie as a playmaker. I'm excited about that. Coruscant's just looking for a partner in crime.
He is.
He's just looking for someone, help him along. It'll be a huge relief. He'll bring Buller to the fore.
Good player during Bull. They've got a great spine now. They do have a spine that can take them to the top 8. I see that, but that's the only thing. The only knock, like everyone's been saying, there's no doubt they've got the talent in that squad. It's just if the culture of that club and the top office is going to be able to work in their favour.
I got a feeling it's going to be. I think it's going to be a
good year,
a big jump. I think it's going to be. I'm not saying they're going to play finals. I'm not sure they're ready for that yet. I can see them though anywhere between 9 to 11. I think to start with they'll get a real lift of having Jarome there. There'll be a feeling of optimism. I think that'll get them off to a good start. And if they get off to a good start and confidence grows, like I said last year, Coop, when you're in a football side and you've had the foot on your throat for a fair while, all of a sudden when you start winning games, man, you just don't take winning for granted.
Yeah.
You just love it. I mean, we've seen that with the Bulldogs this year. All of those blokes, all of a sudden they're winning and they're winning and they're winning, and mate, they're just buoyed by it. It's such a great feeling.
Can I ask you a question before we move just sort of away from Penrith? Nathan Cleary, right now, where does he sit in the conversation for the best ever, do you think?
Look, the thing they always keep saying is he needs to dominate Origin. Origin, he hasn't been up quite because of injuries and whatnot. He will do it.
Oh, he definitely will.
Look, I put him. He's if he isn't already, he's about to enter the discussion that the very elite sit. Joey, Thurston,
Cameron Smith,
Wally Lewis, Cameron Smith. He's about to enter that role.
Because he's 26, right?
Actually, you know what? I think he's entered that role.
I think he's in. Me personally, I didn't see a heap of Joey play. I know he was obviously, everyone
played alongside a good bloke. That's the thing. Probably takes away from Joey.
Yeah, Robbie O'Davis.
But you know what it is? So people say recency bias. I think in rugby league, it can be a little bit the reverse.
I
people
agree.
Look back into the past with rose-coloured glasses.
Well, I think a lot of the people who kind of judge who is the best are that older like there is a very much of an older demographic in rugby league. Everyone kind of looks back on the glory days and says, "Oh, it was way better back then," and they probably prefer they bring Joey more into the conversation, obviously for that reason. I see Nathan right now. I think because he's still young. Probably that works against him as well. People go, "Oh, mate, there's still other stuff you need to do."
Yeah, still got to do this. Yeah, I get that.
I think if Nathan on paper was 32 right now, he's just won his 4th in a comp. They're probably saying he's the best ever. I see him right now in the top 3 alongside Andrew Johns, Cameron Smith, and him. That's where I think he's 3rd in my opinion right now.
Yeah.
I think what he's done is I think this year elevated him definitely a lot, playing busted and then doing what he did on Sunday night, but. In my opinion, I think he is.
Fisher Harris to the Wars. I'm excited by that. He'll just give him again. He'll like the Tigers. He'll give him a lift. The great thing they're going to get out of Fisher Harris's leadership. We've said all before about Leo Thompson. Leo Thompson was sort of not fulfilling his potential. He goes into Maori camp for the Murray All-Stars, comes out a completely different player after rooming with Fisher Harris.
Yeah.
He'll elevate that team. I think the Warriors will return to the top 8 next year.
Yeah, I'm keen. Oh,
hard to replace Sean Johnson.
That's the only thing. Yeah,
hard to replace Sean, but I think they'll redesign elements of their attack. I can see them.
I would have loved to have seen Fanil Blake partner Fisher Harris, wouldn't it have been?
That's a loss. As big a loss as Sean.
Yeah, they've lost their 2 probably best players of the last couple of years. But
what Fish will bring as far as winning... Yeah. He knows what it takes to win comps.
Yeah. I'm keen to see who they're going to put in the 7.
Yeah, but
alongside Luke Metcalf, I would think.
Tamare. I think it'll be Tamare
Martin. Yeah, he's been good.
Right, I'm going to give you 20 seconds, Coop. 20 seconds. I'm going to shock you. Go top 4 next year.
I think Storm definitely. They don't lose anyone, and they're getting Stefano.
5.
Storm, Penrith, Sharks with Fanil Blake going there, and I think the Bulldogs.
Okay. We're similar. I've gone Penrith, Storm, Broncos.
Wow.
Sharks. Fanil Blake going there.
Yeah.
Why
the Broncos? Are you just saying the leadership of what Madge is going to bring to that squad?
One of the really Madge, I think, going to the side, they're going to get a massive shake-up. They're going to trade harder than they've ever trained before, in my opinion.
Do they have any new recruits?
And I think they'll bounce back from the disappointment of this year. New recruits.
I don't think they do.
A lot on Renault's shoulders. One of the things that's crucial is Renault is able to get through probably 80%, 75 to 80% of his season.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to manage him well in terms of if there's a game that they don't need him for. Yeah.
But Coop, they're a top 4 side.
Oh yeah,
they're a top 4 side. I can see them fulfilling their potential.
I think we underestimated just how big the losses were of Tom Flegler and Herbie Farnworth. You see what Herbie Farnsworth brought to that Dolphin side this year, like they missed him out there.
I think blokes like Ricky will benefit from having Madge there.
Yeah.
Cooper, the Australian side has been named. A few surprises. No DCE, no Teddy. Not a big surprise because I thought that Dylan Edwards deserved his spot if he was fit. No Kalen. Again, I'm not surprised. If you say you don't want to be picked and suddenly you backflip, then I think you don't get picked. And no Jake Travojevic. Again, tough on Jake.
Yeah.
Can't pick them all, though, I suppose. The spine, Mitch Moses, Tommy Dearden, Harry Grant, Dylan Edwards.
I see it as a weird spine, in my opinion. I see it as particularly Mitch Moses, not because he doesn't deserve to be there, but his year this year and how Parramatta have gone. He's been injured. Even when he did come back into the side, he didn't have the impact like he had sort of the year before. I thought it was a weird selection, particularly over a Cherry Evans, who probably had nearly one of his best years ever.
I think there's some really smart selections there by Mal. A few of those surprise selections, but I think smart. I reckon last year Mal learned a lot. I think at times you got to be careful picking experienced players. At the end of a long season, like it's a great feeling representing Australia. It's one of the greatest things in my life. But there's some of the players at the end of a long season, I reckon last year it showed a little bit as they got to the final against the Kiwis and were beaten 30-0. They were out enthused by the Kiwis.
Yeah.
So what Mal's done, he's picked a number of blokes that haven't played for Australia before, are right at the start of their Australian career. Dylan Edwards, first time he'll play fullback. I don't think he played before in the Super
played wing.
Harry is vice captain. Tommy Deard will give everything he's got. Mitch Moses playing for Australia for the first side.
Benny Hunt on the bench as well.
Benny Hunt on the bench, right? But Lindsay Smith, the young bloke from Penrith coming into the side, it's a surprise selection. I think it's a great selection, though. He's a young bloke on the up, and he'll just bring energy and excitement to the camp. I reckon that's been one of the crucial things. I think it's been one of the crucial elements of Mal's selections. Enthusiasm and blokes who really want to be there.
I'd tell you what as well, I wouldn't be surprised, particularly after the Kalen situation, which in my opinion, I know people had a lot to say about Kalen. I don't, if a bloke wants to prioritise he's the only one who's missing out in terms of, you get a bit of cash, you get to go back to preseason later, which every NRL player, no one loves going back to preseason better than like going back in January because it's the best feeling in the world. You get a longer break. I think it says a lot of bloke who I think probably it just didn't go about it the right way when it did come out, but I don't think he deserved a lot of the criticism he did. But I was going to say, I think there was a lot of conversations I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mal had rung a lot of players who may have been carrying half niggles and said, do you want me to pick you? And a lot of them said, look, don't pick me.
Cooper, my worst seasons in rugby league were coming back in January.
Really?
Because it wasn't natural football, I needed to train my ass off. I'd take 2 weeks off at the end of the year, then I'd start again with a bit of light stuff because I had to. Because I wasn't Andrew Johns and I wasn't Jonathan Thurston, I wasn't any of those players. So I had to. I think it's very dangerous at times. It's different when you're Cameron Smith and one of the superstars, or you're a player that's been there for 11 years, right?
Yeah.
You've got that big base. But for younger players, I think it's very, very dangerous going, I'm going to come back in January. You're handicapping yourself to a certain extent. Yeah.
Did Andrew Johns, I wanted to ask, just you sort of spoke about you only take 2 weeks off and then you start to get back into training so you come back in good nick. Was Joey, because he does portray himself as someone who, was quite rat's ass, but a lot of people have lifted the lid on, he was a very hard trainer when he was at Knights. In the off season, if he had 6 weeks, 7 weeks off, was he ripping into a lot of training?
Andrew always squared the ledger. Joey had a good time. Yes, Joey would go on benders sometimes, but guess what? He had the discipline to get himself out of bed and train his ass off to square the ledger. You always have to square the ledger, and this is one of the reasons why the Knights went through a downturn for a number of years. Is because all those young guys that came through who ended up being senior players that played with Joey as young guys, they saw the party Joey. They never saw the other Joey who squared the ledger. Because Joey would get up first thing in the morning and he would just go train by himself. Joey take a few weeks off and then he'd rip into his training. He always came back. He did always come back in pretty good nick.
Yeah.
Carrying a couple of kilos, but he would always go really good at his fitness. He never came back and people went, oh, God, look at this. He was ready to go when he came back.
Okay. Because, like you said, it's from the outside looking in, you get that. Well, he likes to perceive himself like that. But chatting to players who did play with him, they would say that he was a very much behind a closed door. He was different to how he perceived himself sometimes.
I'm not going to come out and say that the very best players train the very best, because some quite don't, but I'll tell you what, they're in the top 5. There are some players that I played with, right, that they absolutely trained themselves to a standstill because they weren't natural footballers. To a extent, they were forwards. They didn't have great hands. There wasn't that they weren't brilliant at hitting holes and working with playmakers. They just got through on making 40 tackles a game, missing no tackles and being super fit, leading the hit-ups.
Yeah.
But the best players, you talk to those North Queensland blokes, they'll say that JT was in the top 3 to 5 trainers in that club, led by example. Kubo, great year, loved it, So is rugby league. And once again, I'll repeat, well done to all the players, to the clubs, and the NRL itself. And hey, well done to the referees too. There were a few ups and downs with the bunkers, but the way they've controlled the game has helped make the game what it was. It's a successful year.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Cooper.
Bye-bye.